Previously on the Rod Pedersen Show.
Before we let you go, tell me about your shirt. Our producer Clark pointed out, he's like, you got to ask Paul about the shirt. That's the set hut,
That
right?
is Bob Wiley. Yes, that was years ago. If you remember when on the Cleveland Browns, Coach Wiley was, everyone made, because every time he said set hut, like his whole belly would have jiggled and everybody kind of did it. So they sold t-shirts and I got myself a Bob Wiley set hut t-shirt. So yeah, it's excellent. So, hey, here's my Rod Pedersen Show question. So it's kind of interesting that you guys are on the Games channel up here in Canada, right? So you guys are live streaming or streaming at the same time. Like in my head, I don't think Rod Pedersen has ever even played a video game in his life. You know what I mean? Like,
I know.
Be like, what is this channel I'm on? Like, what is an Atari 2600? He probably doesn't even know anything about anything with
How
video
about
games,
that?
but I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's pretty good. Yeah, I know worlds colliding, but somehow it works. It works for us. So
Get ready for the Rod Pedersen Show. Right now, Darren.
you know, Andre DuPont, the old Philadelphia Flyer tough guy, was nicknamed Moose.
And you being a tough guy.
Right. But in hockey, when I was younger, another player came across the middle and made the most devastating check I've ever made in my life. Take off the helmet, and it's a girl. And so the coach slapped it. Attaboy, Moose. Just like the Moose. And I'm like, I have no idea who that is, right?
The one sports show where roughing is encouraged.
How are we doing? And welcome to a Tuesday RP show. Darren DuPont with you here all week long. It's you and me, and we're settling in for a pretty wild Tuesday already. I mean, we've hit noon out here in the east. It's 9 a.m. out in the West Coast. It's been a busy morning out there. We have breaking news like crazy this morning. It is going to be a fun show and jam-packed too. Welcome to the program again. Wherever you may be tuning in, just loading up the YouTube comments here. The text line is open, 902-518-3033. We had a great day yesterday on the program, and it was a lot of fun talking about concerts, the weekend, really getting into what was a wild CFL week. And could it be even better this week? That's pretty crazy. We have NHL news this morning like crazy, and we had a minor emergency this morning in our morning meeting. As I was sitting there in our morning meeting, out the corner of my eye, I noticed a spider rappelling down from the ceiling. It was hanging right there. Pretty decent-sized spider, too. And so I need to grab this thing in a cup. We're not on the ground floor. I'm up in the, up in a high-rise condo. And the second I moved, it disappeared, like gone. And so I started panicking. Is it on me? Is it on my chair? Where is it? Is it in my coffee? But we found it. We got rid of it out the window. We solved that problem and then got all our notes ready for the show today and then basically had to throw them all out because we have breaking news after breaking news after breaking news. And we're going to get to it all today, including a decision from Nathan Rourke. I have prepped in here the 3 landing spots in the NFL that I thought would be best for Nathan Rourke. That's out the window. Breaking news this morning, the 2022 Most Outstanding Canadian is coming back to the CFL. Nathan Rourke is signing with the BC Lions. And I don't think that was our number 1 choice in the poll yesterday, but it was definitely, I think, number 2 of the 3 CFL teams in the poll. It was number 1, and he's going to BC. So we're going to talk about that today. We have news around the Edmonton Elks ownership. That is coming to a close, and we're getting some resolution there from Dave Naylor. We're going to talk about that today. But we start with hockey on the program today, and news out of St. Louis that an offer sheet has been accepted for the Edmonton Oilers. This from Sportsnet today. The St. Louis Blues announced on Tuesday that the team has tendered offer sheets to Oilers defenseman Philip Broberg and forward Dylan Holloway. From Elliot Friedman, the Blues offer sheet Broberg 2 years at $4.58 million per season, and Dylan Holloway 2 years at $2.29 million per season. That's pretty significant. Those are key pieces of what the Oilers are hoping is a Stanley Cup run in 2024-25. Broberg has been offered the 2-year contract, as we mentioned. The offer sheet on Broberg, it's 2 years at $4.58 million per year. Offer sheet compensation, should the Oilers decide not to accept the deal, is a second-round draft pick. Okay? The Blues made Dylan Holloway the offer of a 2-year contract with an annual cap hit of $2.29 million. The Oilers would receive a third-round pick as compensation if they choose not to accept the deal. The Oilers have 7 days to match those offers, choose to accept it or not. Now, here's another wrinkle. The Oilers are one of the few teams currently over the salary cap already by $354,000. So it could make it tough, but the Oilers can exceed that cap by 10% in the offseason. So they can extend the cap a little bit. They can exceed it. Maybe they make a move to open up some space here. But it's interesting. For Broberg, 81 career games for the Oilers the last 3 years, 2 goals and 13 points, 23 years old. He was the 8th overall pick in the 2019 NHL entry draft. For Holloway, he's appeared in 89 games with Edmonton, 9 goals, 18 points. And he was a big part of their run to the Stanley Cup final. He's just 22 years old, and he was selected 14th overall by the Oilers in the 2020 draft. So here's some younger players with some upside that are key depth pieces to the Oilers and a potential run to the Stanley Cup. And we've got a couple of offer sheets here,
How about that?
which make things really, really interesting.
I like it.
There was a second deal that happened here, I think just before the offer sheets became official. It was a trade between the St. Louis Blues and the Pittsburgh Penguins. The Blues received a second-round pick and a fifth-round pick from Pittsburgh in exchange for a second and a third-round pick. This was done in order to acquire the draft capital needed. So it was a 2025 second-round pick that the Blues received, which they need for the offer sheet, and they traded away a 2026 second-round pick. And they ended up shipping away a 25 third-round pick in exchange for a 2026 fifth-round pick. It's kind of confusing, but they traded the draft picks in order to have the capital to make these offer sheets. Since the salary cap era, only 2 offer sheets have been accepted and not matched, okay? The last time an offer sheet was back in 2021. The Carolina Hurricanes signed Jesperi Kotkaniemi, if we remember that. 1 year, $6.1 million deal. The Canadians did not match, and they picked up the Hurricanes' first and third round picks in the 2022 NHL entry draft. So since then, there's only been the 2. The other one was back in 2007. Dustin Penner went from the Anaheim Ducks to the Edmonton Oilers. So the Oilers got the Ducks on the offer sheet. Now the Blues trying to get the Oilers on an offer sheet, which brings up our poll question today is, are you a fan of NHL offer sheets? Let us know on Twitter and YouTube. Do we have an early sample size on the offer sheet situation? 55%. I just checked it again. 57. It's moving up and down. Say yes, they're a fan of the offer sheet. I think it's okay. Decent loophole. You're going to give up some draft picks. Teams have 7 days to match. What it does in this situation is it forces the Oilers' hand, is what it does. Because you only have 7 days. They're over the cap. August is a time when, a lot of the NHL gets pretty quiet in August. So now you got to get going. And not that you're going to have trouble connecting with the GM if you need to make a move or making something happen. But now there's an opportunity for teams to, I don't want to say take advantage of the Oilers in this situation, but if they're looking to clear up some cap space on the books, there's some draft picks from the Oilers that could be available here, right? You want to clear up some cap to keep these guys? Well, we want that second round pick you were going to give up. or we want a third-round draft pick out of it. We'll take some cap off your books, but we need some equity here. And that's the position the Oilers are in. Should they want to keep Holloway and Broberg? If the Oiler fans are watching, do you think the Oilers should sign and match this offer sheet for Philip Broberg and Dylan Holloway? Young, big part of the future. I think the Oilers are kind of all in right now on a Stanley Cup in 2024, 2025. This is their window. And you don't want to completely sacrifice the future, but they're in a window now. Again, a Draisaitl extension is coming. They're in a window now where it's win now, and not just one and done. This is a window where I think the Oilers want to try and do what Chicago did, what Pittsburgh did, LA winning a couple of cups. I think they want to stack up multiple cups. Everybody wants to stack up multiple cups, but the Oilers have a really good spot right now to be in contention for the next 3, 4, 5, 6 seasons and maybe beyond. So they're going to have a real opportunity here. Patrolman Pete writes in as we say good morning and good afternoon to everybody watching on YouTube and on Game Plus Television, 902-518-3033. You see the number at the bottom of your screen, and there it is in big, bold numbers. Patrolman Pete says, I still have nightmares of Dylan Holloway from what he did to the Winnipeg Ice. I don't completely remember that. You'll have to refresh me on that one. Glenn Erickson says, good business decision by the St. Louis Blues. Broberg and Holloway can be solid, affordable pieces, and it's the Oilers that have to spend the time and money on their development. So that's interesting. Let me see what else we got here on this. So a lot of good mornings. We say good morning to our radio affiliates in Atlanta, WQEE. We say good morning to Shane watching. A lot of people want to talk about Nathan Rourke, and we will do that as the program moves along for sure. We're going to dedicate most of the first hour here to the National Hockey League and hockey in general, most of the second hour to football. Separate this 2 podcast episodes pretty well. Coming up on the show today, we're going to have a visit from Brien Rea from Bally Sports Southwest out of Detroit. He's going to join us, I believe, in the next segment, and we'll talk about this move. Couple interesting things that play into this move. When you look at the St. Louis Blues stockpiling some pieces together, we were talking about this in the morning meeting. Clark did a great job of pointing out there's not really a lot of big contracts with the St. Louis Blues. Colton Parayko on the back end. We mentioned Robert Thomas, Braden Shen. But there's not some big, hefty dollars spent around the St. Louis Blues as they try and get back into the playoffs. The St. Louis Blues last season finished 5th in the Central, 92 points. They were 7 points back of the Nashville Predators, who finished 4th in the Central and got that final playoff spot, right? Well, technically, Vegas got the final playoff spot at 98 points. So 6 points back of the playoffs were the St. Louis Blues. They were a -11 goals for, goals against. It'll be interesting to see what this does to the division. The Dallas Stars finished 1st in the Central, 113 points. They were, really great. 1st in the West, obviously. The number 1 seed before losing in the playoffs to those Oilers. But really curious about this move and if the Oilers will match. They've got 7 days to do so. New GM Stan Bowman, along with Mr. Jackson, will be in there probably having these conversations right now. Curious, very, very curious. To the YouTube chat, we say good morning again. I think that's Drew watching from the Off the Hosel podcast, says hi. John, Bomber Boy, they're all watching here. Yeah, Drew points out that Dylan Holloway played Junior A, not in the WHL, and then played college at Wisconsin. Thank you for that. Lots of thoughts here on the Nathan Rourke situation, and I appreciate those. Keep those coming in. We are going to talk a lot of football coming up later on in the program, and we're going to dive deep into that. We got news from the Edmonton Elks as well. We say good morning to Stephen Jacobson, who's watching as well. Late text came in here yesterday on the text line from Stephen. He says, greetings and hallucinations from sunny North Dakota. Day late and a dollar short. He wanted to say his best live concert that he's seen, Phantom of the Opera, Cats, and Les Miserables at the Center of the Arts in Regina. So a big fan of the musicals. And he thought Nathan Rourke would stay in the National Football League. Well, that's not going to happen. Nathan Rourke signing with the BC Lions, the press conference. He's supposed to be in BC on Wednesday, pretty early. So we're going to get more into Nathan Rourke. But sticking with hockey here for a minute, I want to bring up these NHL futures odds, Clark, before we bring on Brien Rea in Dallas, if you can. The Edmonton Oilers, they've got a big decision to make. Philip Broberg and Dylan Holloway have signed offer sheets with the St. Louis Blues. Here is the top 10 NHL futures Stanley Cup odds, courtesy of ESPN Bet. The Edmonton Oilers, the number 1 odds to win the Stanley Cup. There's the Dallas Stars, number 2. The St. Louis Blues are not on this list. The St. Louis Blues, if I look down my list, they are plus 5,000 to win the Stanley Cup. So you look at Edmonton, Dallas, Florida is the top 3. Then there's Carolina, New Jersey, the Rangers, Colorado, Toronto, Nashville, and Vegas. I want to follow this up. I was looking at the list. Here's who I think are some value picks, okay? We call it my value menu. I like to look at value. Where can we find some value? Long odds that could actually win the cup. I like Edmonton. There's not a lot of high value there, high return on your investment, but I like the Oilers. I think they're going to be right back in the Stanley Cup final. I think they're that good. I think this team's going to be more mature, and I think they are poised to potentially do what Florida did, get to the Stanley Cup final 1 year and lose, get back there the next year and win. Nashville had maybe the best offseason of everybody. They're in the top 10, but a little ways back at plus 1,600. I think they're going to make some noise. They got goaltending, they've got defense, and they have now some star power up front. I like Vancouver and Winnipeg to take a step forward as dark horses to win the cup. And my long odds, the Detroit Red Wings at plus 4,000, I think they're worthy of slapping $20 down and potentially having a big return. If there is somebody, I look at Detroit. I look at Pittsburgh at plus 5,000 as a real outside because of some people they have in place. Should they get in, they've got veteran leadership that can take them potentially deep into the playoff. So quick look at the NHL. We're going to dive deeper into this offer sheet situation with the St. Louis Blues. Look at that offseason from the Dallas Stars in our next segment and see what else is happening in Texas as we go to Dallas and visit with Brien Rea from Bally Sports Southwest on the other side of the break. We're going to get to more football, too. It is a busy Tuesday. The Rod Pedersen Show just getting started here on the Game Plus Television Network. You are listening on our radio affiliates in Atlanta, WQEE, streaming on YouTube, or this is episode 1, hour 1 of the podcast here on Apple and Spotify.
Sounds like he knows what he's doing a little bit. As long as you're entertained. Aren't you entertained?
We're all capable of doing more. More speed, more reps, more commitment to getting every detail perfect. And that's why it's important we never miss a donation appointment. Blood and plasma donors are needed every day in Canada to support thousands of patients that rely on Canada's lifeline. We're asking you to join the Hockey Gives Blood Partners for Life team. Join today by downloading the Give Blood app or book online at blood.ca
Did you know that you can help save a life? And you can start right now.
Stem cells from male donors increase chances of positive outcomes for patients, yet they only make up 40% of our registry.
Today, there are hundreds of people in Canada searching for their life-saving match.
You can be a patient's best hope. Be a hero by registering with Canadian Blood Services Stem Cell Registry now.
The 80s Club, live in Moose Jaw. Honeymoon Suite, along with a flock of seagulls. Men without hats. And spoons. All together for one night at Moose Jaw Event Center, Saturday, November 16th. Tickets on sale now at sastix.ca or the Moose Jaw Event Center box office.
Text 902-518-3033. 902-518-3033. Pick up your phone and text RP, that's Rod Pedersen. Text 902-518-3033.
Here's how your business can be a part of Canada's fastest growing sports talk show. All you have to do is contact us, and we will tell you all about the dynamic and exciting marketing opportunities we have, utilizing a fully integrated 360-degree multi-platform. Imagine your business seen and heard across Canada on Game Plus TV and around the world on the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. You will use one of the most overused expressions in sports. You gotta be kidding me. Get your business involved. Contact the Rod Pedersen Show today.
Hey, honey, can you get one of the kids to show me how this Twitter thing works? Honey, I need to get on Instagram. Time for more of the Rod Pedersen Show.
902-518-3033, the number to text the program. It is a busy Tuesday. Plenty of news coming down in the National Hockey League this morning. The St. Louis Blues offer sheets to the Edmonton Oilers, Dylan Holloway and Evan Broberg. The Oilers have 7 days to match those two offer sheets. The Oilers are the betting odds favorite to win the Stanley Cup this year, but a couple of decisions they got to make on two young key depth pieces of their roster. The Dallas Stars are the number two team by ESPN Bet to win the Stanley Cup. Brien Rea joins us from Valley Sports Southwest in Dallas. How are you, Brien?
I'm doing good, and for as boring as the month of August is, I'm kind of glad Doug Armstrong threw some chaos into the wind here. We've been waiting for something to chomp our teeth on, so this is going to be fun for the next 7 days or so.
Yeah, it really is. Is this a case of the Blues kind of waiting until the dog days of summer to try and, catch the Oilers sleeping in the grass a little bit, like a snake in the grass? It's kind of woken up the hockey world.
I don't know if it's a waiting situation. I've always wondered, why don't we get more offer sheets? And look, I'm selfish, working in media covering hockey. You want stories, you want a little bit of drama, some theatrics, and we just don't get enough of that, especially going back to the Habs and the Canes a couple of years ago and their offer sheet pettiness that I think we all enjoyed watching between the two. But I've always wondered with offer sheets, just the way the economics have gone. Okay, the upper class is clearly going to get its money, because that's just the high-level players. But as that's sort of increased and we're getting more and more double-digit AAV salaries, we keep seeing the middle class get squeezed a little bit, and there's more onus and importance being put on entry-level contracts and RFA-level players to try and fill out these rosters. So I've always wondered, at some point, why isn't this turning and we're seeing more offer sheets either to acquire RFA-aged players or RFA-level players in terms of salary because of how important those players are becoming to fill out rosters, combined with trying to put the squeeze to a fellow GM or another team out there and handcuff their cap situation a little bit. So I've always wanted a little more RFA traffic. I think if you're a hockey fan, you love to see it as long as it doesn't happen to your team. So it'll be interesting to see what goes on here between the Oilers and the Blues. But I'm glad we're getting a little more RFA traffic. I like seeing it. I think it's fun.
I think it's great. And we're talking about two young players that were both first-round picks, high upside depth pieces right now for an Oilers Stanley Cup run. What do you do if you're the Oilers? They're $300,000 over the salary cap, which you can be 10% over. But what do you do if you're the Oilers right now?
If you're Edmonton and you're determining your window right now is to win a Stanley Cup, if those two guys are a legitimate part of it, then obviously you want to bring them back into the fold. I honestly don't know what you do, because there's also this mitigating circumstance named Leon Draisaitl that is just hovering out there. And it feels like you're going to need every dollar and penny you can find to get him locked up. So are Broberg and Holloway going to lock up some of those pennies that you need to try and hold on to Leon Draisaitl over the next couple of years or not? Look, it's a really difficult situation to be put in. It's why Doug Armstrong made the move. And I'm talking to you from Dallas. I cover the Dallas Stars on a daily basis. So let me throw a Dallas Stars thread into this. If I'm Thomas Harley, who's an RFA for the Dallas Stars that they are trying to get signed right now, and I see that there's a defenseman around the same age, former first-round pick, who's just had an AAV of roughly $4.5 million presented in front of him, I'm Thomas Harley saying, look at my body of work. That's where my number starts, right there. There's my market if we're looking for the number that Thomas Harley wants to re-sign at with the Dallas Stars. So from a Dallas perspective, there is a little bit of an interest to see what goes on here with this offer sheet and it getting matched, because now you're talking about a marketplace for a skilled young defenseman, former first-round pick, who's also waiting to be re-signed from the Dallas Stars side of things.
Yeah, and another angle to this is, this is a team in the division in St. Louis. From a Dallas perspective, they finished fifth in the division last year. They were 7 points back of 6 points back of the playoffs, but 7 points back of fourth in that division. Where is St. Louis at, and what are the Blues trying to accomplish here?
So that's a great question, because I've kind of wondered, what are the Blues trying to accomplish over the last couple of years? They're clearly trying to retool while maintaining their competitiveness in the division. And they've essentially missed the playoffs the last couple of years because of it. But they're still trying this retool on the fly. And we saw Dallas do this a little bit, but Dallas also, call it getting a little bit lucky, the way they hit on that draft with Robertson and with Stan Coven and with Jake Ottinger and some of these players they were able to find in later rounds that really blossomed. I think every division likes to say that they are the toughest division to deal with. I've covered the Central Division basically head on for the last 6 years now. And I'm sitting here going, all right, last year it was Dallas, it was Colorado, it was Winnipeg, and Nashville was there a little bit. Well, then Nashville goes and makes their moves. St. Louis is clearly trying to make themselves a little bit stronger. Arizona/Utah seems to be this wild card of young talent, wondering what are they actually going to bring, especially with some of their offseason signings. I still view St. Louis outside of that bubble, maybe around that 5th, 6th range. But you were talking about longest odds or great odds in your last segment to try and win the Stanley Cup or to be playoff teams. There's always just sort of a wild card team that can throw a wrench into the mix. I'm not convinced St. Louis is that team yet. It's probably more leaning towards Utah, but I do think the Central Division has become a little bit deeper with some of these teams and maybe not as top-heavy as they were last year. And I haven't even said Winnipeg with the players they have and some of the top-end talent. So from a Central Division perspective, I think a lot of us are looking at the Central and just saying, all right, get ready for the black guys and the broken teeth, because it's going to be that type of a division again over the course of an 82-game season. I think St. Louis is outside of the bubble still, but I do think they are stronger, making the division more difficult.
You're right. Arizona's kind of interesting. Minnesota is the team that, feels the least interesting in the division.
Yeah.
And you got Chicago at the bottom that are only going to get better with Bedard and adding more young talent as kind of the next group. But like Dallas was first, then Winnipeg 3 points back, Colorado and Nashville. it's probably those 4 teams that are going to be 1 through 4, maybe in a different order this year.
I agree.
I don't know where St. Louis fits into that. They almost need to kind of buy their time and let those 4 kind of finish their window, and then kind of hope you're in the next window with Chicago and Arizona. And it's a tough spot to be because that's a really competitive division.
And I think also something that a team like St. Louis, if Kyrou and Thomas somehow take another step and develop into this really heavy 1-2 punch, there's been flashes of it, I feel like, the last couple of seasons, but now they have those big money contracts they signed a couple of years ago. That kind of changes the look of St. Louis. But this is sort of the question mark with young players. There's always inconsistency for the most part until it clicks and they get it, or it never clicks and they don't get it. And so it's one of those, it feels like St. Louis is one of those teams that's trying to rebuild, maybe not necessarily their farm system, but that next wave of young talent to their core. They're trying to rebuild their core, essentially, is what they're doing. Dallas was able to do it a couple of years ago with their young players. Arizona, it feels like they're in the process of doing that. They've had a lot of those first-round picks and high-level talent they've been stockpiling. And one of these teams, Nashville, they kind of rebuilt it through free agency, not necessarily young talent. But one of these cores, it's going to click, and then it's going to make life awfully difficult for who has been the cream of the crop of the division so far between Colorado, Dallas, and Winnipeg was in that conversation. You're right. It's 1 through 4 looks set, but 5 and 6 are certainly trying to make life really problematic.
Clark, I want to bring up those NHL futures odds again, where we had the Edmonton Oilers first, the Dallas Stars as the number 2 team in terms of odds to win the Stanley Cup. Let's look at, before we let you go, this Dallas Stars team and the offseason that they had. Joe Pavelski's out. But they made some small moves. It seems like, for the most part, a quiet offseason. But is this Stars team better today than they were at the end of the year last year?
So I would classify the Stars offseason as incomplete. And this is really funny. While I'm talking to you, the notification just popped up on my phone, the Stars announcing that they've signed goaltender Magnus Hellberg to a 1-year deal. So there's your number 3 in the Dallas Stars system, and another ancillary move in terms of to pick up their depth. But I think today, right now, if you look at the roster, are they better than what they had at the end of the playoffs last year? I think it's a fair argument to say no. When you lose Chris Tanev, that's tough. When you lose Joe Pavelski to retirement and even Ryan Suter a little bit to his buyout, that's tough. But if you look at the Dallas Stars that began last season, there were a lot of these similar question marks. And Jim Nill is big on depth, and he's big on internal strides forward. And that's what he's banking on here a little bit. Maverick Bourque is now going to make his jump, it feels like, from the American League, being the MVP of the AHL, to the NHL. He put the same faith in Wyatt Johnston a couple years ago. He put the same faith in Logan Stankoven halfway through last season. He's going to put that same faith in Maverick Bourque, who has earned this opportunity and earned a little bit of that trust to try and make a step like that. That's a question mark that could be a heck of a game changer, but it remains to be seen. I do think there are still question marks on the blue line. There were question marks with a 39-year-old Ryan Suter. You take him out of the mix and you bring in Lyubushkin, you bring in Matt Dumba, who also have their question marks, but they're younger, they're a little bit meatier. So can Jim Nill strengthen his 5th and 6th defenseman a little bit and maybe lift the back end of his defensive pairing? It's great if it works, but there's question marks there. I think this is going to be a big-time trade deadline for Jim Nill after he determines what exactly he has, and some of those questions have either been answered or not answered. Sitting in the weeds of all this is Thomas Harley as an RFA that needs to be re-signed. If you're a Stars fan, I don't think you need to worry or panic. There's a lot of RFAs out there in the NHL that are still unsigned by their teams. This is just the way business is being done right now in the National Hockey League. So I'm calling this Stars offseason incomplete because there's a lot of questions that still need to be answered. Very similar to what they did last year, but they're kind of rolling it back and playing that same game again. The trade deadline, I think, is where we're going to learn where is this team at with some of those future bets you were just talking about and a Stanley Cup push.
And it should be a lot of fun to watch. And it feels like the unofficial start to the new season is summer is over. We are back to hockey. Brien, I appreciate this. Enjoy what's left of the summer, and we'll see you next time.
Same to you guys. Good to talk as always.
Brien Rea from Bally Sports Southwest, Victory Plus TV, new Dallas Stars broadcaster internally. Brien Rea, always a pleasure, and a great summary of the moves in the Central Division. Again, offer sheets coming down. The St. Louis Blues offer sheeting the Oilers' Dylan Holloway and Philip Broberg. Oilers got 7 days to match. We'll see what they decide to do with it. And that is the poll question: is, are you a fan of the offer sheets? 67% of you right now weighing in saying yes, you are a fan of NHL offer sheets. Robin Wildley in Prince Albert writes in and says, according to Puckpedia, the Stars have $6.2 million left on their cap space. Ryan McCarthy in New York says, I see those Devils odds. They had similar odds last year and crash landed by March. Hopefully this season is different. Yes, it's going to be interesting to see what happens here down the stretch. Allie's watching, and I was hoping Allie would be checking in on the Dallas Stars and what's going on in the Central. Says it's always tough in the Central. Yes, it absolutely is. What else do we got in here? Lots more. I'm going to sift through some of these comments. I'm going to open up the text line, 902-518-3033, and we will recap all of this and probably do mostly hockey to the top of the hour, and then we're going to get in and really sink our teeth into football, okay? Because we got lots to talk about. Pedersen Show, Game Plus Television, WQEE, streaming on YouTube or on the podcast, Apple and Spotify.
IKS Game Day wishes to congratulate the city of Estevan and Affinity Place on their brand new center ice display. This state-of-the-art score clock features 5 LED faces with full motion graphics, scoring integration, and our new Halo mounting system. If it's time for an upgrade, let us show you how to deliver the best fan experience. You can find us at IKSGameDay.com.
Now the race is on and here comes pride in the backstretch.
Celebrate 40 years of Sawyer Brown.
Some girls don't like boys like me.
With Shenandoah.
You got to get me to the church on the Cumberland Road.
Plus special guest George Fox. Saturday, October 26th, Moose Jaw Event Center.
I'll take the dirt road.
Tickets are on sale now at the Moose Jaw Event Center box office or online at sasktix.ca.
6 days on the road and I'm
Sawyer Brown and Shenandoah live.
The WCBL continued to grow this summer. 12 teams, 2 provinces, pacing towards 400,000 fans, an all-time high in 2024. The WCBL had a record number of players drafted in this summer's Major League Baseball draft. 2024 playoffs start August 7th.
Welcome to the Create Space at IKS Media. Meetings, podcasts, studio. Whether you're here to collaborate or educate, our versatile meeting places, workspaces, and studios await. Your next big idea starts here. Make our space your space. The Create Space at IKS.
Does this look familiar? Your fans deserve an incredible arena experience. It's time for an upgrade. Stunning graphics. Revenue opportunities are just the beginning with our in-venue display systems and scoring technology. Let us help you find the best solution for your facility. BDG, always delivering the best fan experience.
We're all capable of doing more. More speed, more reps, more commitment to getting every detail perfect. And that's why it's important we never miss a donation appointment. Blood and plasma donors are needed every day in Canada to support thousands of patients that rely on Canada's lifeline. We're asking you to join the Hockey Gives Blood Partners for Life team. Join today by downloading the Give Blood app or book online at blood.ca/HGB.
Here's how your business can be a part of Canada's fastest growing sports talk show. All you have to do is contact us, and we will tell you all about the dynamic and exciting marketing opportunities we have, utilizing a fully integrated 360-degree multi-platform. Imagine your business seen and heard across Canada on Game Plus TV and around the world on the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. You will use one of the most overused expressions in sports. You gotta be kidding me. Get your business involved. Contact the Rod Pedersen Show today.
Send us your opinions now. We won't victimize you unless you really deserve it. Now, back to your host, Rod Pedersen.
Welcome back to the show. Busy Tuesday, and a wild Tuesday here in the world of sports. Hockey and football is what we do on this show, mostly, right? But we do a little bit of everything else. There's going to be not a lot of anything else on the show today. It's going to be mostly hockey and football because we have breaking news in both leagues, both the NHL and the CFL. We got news in the NFL too. Hour one is hockey. Hour two is going to be football today. That's pretty much what I'm thinking this show is going to look like. Before we go any further, I want to get to a sports update. Considering everything that's gone on today, we'll start and we'll get to football in a second, but 3 hits in a Major League Baseball debut. It happened just 4 times in Major League Baseball history, and the Jays' Will Wagner is now one of them. 26-year-old called up from AAA Monday, play against the Los Angeles Angels. He went 3 for 4, including hits in his first 3 at-bats. He was one of the pieces acquired by the Jays from the Houston Astros as part of the Yusei Kikuchi deal back on July 29th. We got a pair of Game 3s tonight, sticking with baseball. Games 3s in the Western Canadian Baseball League. The Okotoks Dogs handed Sylvan Lake their first loss of the playoffs 3-2 Monday night to force a third and deciding game in the West Division Final. Meanwhile, after dropping their opener, the Moose Jaw Miller Express even the best-of-3 playoff series with the Saskatoon Berries Monday night with a 17-6 win. Winners will meet in the WCBL Championship Series. NFL training camp news. Canadian and Buffalo Bills wide receiver Chase Claypool has been placed on the IR. He hasn't participated much in training camp, and now he goes to the injured reserve. Meanwhile, CFL All-Star Austin Mack has been released by the Atlanta Falcons. He was targeted once during the team's preseason loss to the Miami Dolphins, didn't register a catch. The 26-year-old CFL rights are held by the Montreal Alouettes through 2025. And Jessica Pegula topped Amanda Anisimova 6'3", 2'6", 6'1" to defend her National Bank Open women's singles tennis crown in Toronto Monday night. Meanwhile, a great story on the men's side in Montreal. That was in Toronto. In Montreal, the men's, Australia's Alexei Popyrin, the number 62 ranked player in the world, defeated 5th seed Andrei Rublev of Russia 6'2", 6'4". It's the biggest singles title of his career. Our sports update is brought to you by EMJ Marketing. From impactful speakers to strategic marketing, EMJ Marketing is your all-in-one solution. Visit emjmarketing.com. So much going on. News as well. The National Hockey League out of Toronto this morning. Austin Matthews set to become the 26th captain in the history of the Toronto Maple Leafs. TSN's Darren Drager reported this morning the team will unveil the news at a Wednesday press conference. John Tavares, 1 year left on his contract, the current captain of the Leafs, but apparently not an issue. So this is the tweet from Darren Drager. Expect the Maple Leafs to name Austin Matthews captain on Wednesday. This is part of the evolution of Matthews as a leader. and current Maple Leafs captain John Tavares fully supports the change. Tavares has been heavily involved in the process with GM Brad Treliving. So Austin Matthews set to become captain of the Toronto Maple Leafs. And how does this change things? Well, we know he's a leader for the Maple Leafs. We know he is the face of the franchise. And as the Leafs look to take a step forward and finally with this core make a deep run in the playoffs, which has eluded them, they turn to Austin Matthews as the captain. I've seen some of the comments on social media, and I'd be interested to see what you think, the viewers, if you think that this is a good move or not for the Toronto Maple Leafs. I've seen comments about what this will do to John Tavares and what this means for his future as the Toronto Maple Leaf. I think John understands that, where the Leafs are going, that Austin is the face of this team. You look at, other superstars like Connor McDavid, the captain of the Edmonton Oilers. It was going to happen eventually. This was on the timeline. Austin went from not having a letter to being, an alternate, wearing an A on his jersey, and now will wear the C. Do I think John Tavares is gone after this season? I don't know. I think there will be a significant reduction in his cap hit. That's obvious. But I think his role on this team as a leader doesn't change. It's just Austin Matthews' role is going to be elevated. And that's just a natural progression. You look at the Toronto Maple Leafs and the history of their captains. Before John Tavares, there was no captain for a couple of seasons after Dion Phaneuf left the team in 2016. Before that, there was another stretch where there was no captain for a couple of seasons after Matt Sundin left. He was the captain from 97-98 up until leaving the team in 2008, and then ended up finishing his career at the Vancouver Canucks. Before Matt Sundin, it was Doug Gilmour, the captain, and then Wendell Clark before that. So there have not been a lot of captains in the Leafs history of over 100 years. This is the 26th captain, will be Austin Matthews. Largely, do I think this is going to affect the locker room and affect this team? I don't. I don't think this is going to affect the locker room. I think if you have John Tavares playing a role in this and okay with it, and that is real and not just a PR statement or move, I think it's fine. I think John Tavares still plays a significant role in the Toronto Maple Leafs, despite carrying a bigger cap hit, despite not putting up the numbers that he has previously in his career and not being in the prime of his career. He still is a leader on this team. He still is a top six forward, a second line center, comes up big at times in the playoffs. He has for this team, including that overtime goal to get past the first round against Tampa Bay over a year ago. I don't think this changes that. I think he still plays a big role on the Toronto Maple Leafs. And I think Austin Matthews now, we are going to find out if he can handle the pressure that's going to go along with being the captain. Nothing's really going to change for Austin Matthews. He's going to do the same amount of media. He's going to play the same role on this team. He just now is going to wear the C officially, and we'll see. Some players rise to that occasion, some don't. Austin Matthews is coming off a 69-goal season. Will he repeat that? Probably not. But if Austin Matthews is a 50-goal scorer and a 100-point player in this upcoming season, now it's his job to continue to elevate the players around him. And for Toronto, ultimately, the goal doesn't change. You need to take a step forward and have a deep run in the playoffs. I think this is largely just a formality and not a big news moment. Could have waited for another year, but it's happening now, and John Tavares is on board with it, and I think that's largely okay. 902-518-3033 is the number to text the show. Allie writes in and says, great interview, Darren, with Brien. Glad you enjoyed it. He's always a treat to talk to. And that's Central Division. Just putting a bow on that a little bit here. That Central Division is a tough one. Like, every division is tough, but which top four do you think is tougher? And Clark, if you're listening, I'd love you to just your thought on this. The Pacific, where you have the top four teams of Vancouver, Edmonton, LA, and Vegas. I don't think that changes, right? Calgary, Seattle, Anaheim, and San Jose. Do they unseat Vancouver, Edmonton, LA, Vegas? Probably not. So you got Vancouver, Edmonton, LA, and Vegas, or Dallas, Winnipeg, Colorado, Nashville. I think the Central is tougher, and I don't think it's that close.
Bingo!
What do you think? Yeah. I don't think it's close. I think Nashville is a legitimate Stanley Cup contender. So is Colorado, so is Winnipeg, so is Dallas. I think Edmonton is the Stanley Cup favorite. I don't know if LA is a contender. Vegas is in that second tier now, or kind of there on the bubble. Vancouver is a team that could be in that situation, but I don't know that you're calling them Stanley Cup favorites. They weren't in our spot, right? In our top Stanley Cup odds. That Central Division is very, very tough. Look, we'll come back and put a wrap on hour one, and then for those of you who have been really patient, we're going to get to football right away. We're 10 minutes away from getting into this football story, and we got breaking news. So stick around, get ready, load up the next episode of the podcast if you're listening later, because this show is going to get interesting. It's the Rod Pedersen Show, and a viewer takeover next here on Game Plus Television, WQEE, YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts.
I'm Bridget Lacquette. I'm a First Nation Olympic silver medalist, and I'm proud to represent Indigenous hockey players across Canada. Each year, hundreds of Canadians need a stem cell transplant from an unrelated donor to save their life. Anyone can have a hard time finding a stem cell match, but for Indigenous peoples, it can be even more difficult, because just over 1% of prospective donors on Canada's stem cell registry are of Indigenous backgrounds. Be a hero. Join me in Hockey Gives Blood in helping to make a life-saving difference to those in need. Register today at blood.ca/beahero.
The live sports experience is changing. Teams and facilities are under pressure to provide online and in-venue entertainment. IKS Live has the right team to deliver. We provide service across North America and produce the best fan experience, in the seats or streaming to you. IKS Live continues to bring you the best seat in the house.
Text 902-518-3033. 902-518-3033. Pick up your phone and text RP, that's Rod Pedersen. Text 902-518-3033.
We're all capable of doing more. More speed, more reps, more commitment to getting every detail perfect. And that's why it's important we never miss a donation appointment. Blood and plasma donors are needed every day in Canada to support thousands of patients that rely on Canada's lifeline. We're asking you to join the Hockey Gives Blood Partners for Life team. Join today by downloading the Give Blood app or book online at blood.ca/HGB.
Business owners and marketers. Okay, we know you think we're pretty cool. That's why we want you to share in the coolness factor. Partner with the Rod Pedersen Show and market your business every weekday to sports lovers just like yourself. Take advantage of our many cost-effective commercial and promotional opportunities. Tell the world about your business. Yes, the world. Thanks to Game Plus TV and the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. Contact us today and find out how you can be a part of Canada's fastest-growing sports talk show, The Rod Pedersen Show.
Did you know you can catch all the best moments from the show on all our social media platforms? Now, back to the studio with Rod.
902-518-3033. 1 or 2 minutes I got, here in the show. Bob McAllister writes in about the Central Division in the NHL. Says, not sure if the Jets' confidence in young players coming up is enough to stay with the top teams in the division. And I said, it'll be hard to say, but the top-end talent's there. The blue line's good. The goaltending's good. I think they'll be right back in the mix, the Winnipeg Jets. I got to clean up my tabs here on the computer after a hectic morning. Jason Gregor was talking about the news. Some fans are saying that, the Oilers aren't going to want these guys back anyway after they signed with somebody else. They don't really want to be there, and that's not right. Players don't get upset. He said it's a business. This is from Jason Gregor on Twitter. The Sharks signed Chalmers into a 4-year offer sheet back in 2010. The Hawks matched. He won 2 more cups. So the Oiler locker room is going to be fine with this. They understand it's a business. And the last wrinkle on the Oilers from Bob Stauffer is the Evander Kane situation. He reported yesterday that there's a very good chance the Oilers' Evander Kane won't be ready for the start of the season, that he may require surgery, and he's likely to be on LTIR to start the year, which will give the Oilers added cap flexibility. I don't know if his contract yet, because he's hurt, is part of them being over the cap, or if that will bring money off. But very interesting. Oilers have 1 week to match the offer sheets. Philip Broberg and Dylan Holloway. Wild, wild morning in the NHL. Thanks for listening to the podcast. Thanks to Brien Rea in Dallas for joining us. And listen to the next hour for football. Nathan Rourke is a BC Lion. That's next.
We're all capable of doing more. More speed, more reps, more commitment to getting every detail perfect. And that's why it's important we never miss a donation appointment. Blood and plasma donors are needed every day in Canada to support thousands of patients that rely on Canada's lifeline. We're asking you to join the Hockey Gives Blood Partners for Life team. Join today by downloading the Give Blood app or book online at blood.ca/HGB.
Welcome to the Create Space at IKS Media. Meetings, podcasts, studio. Whether you're here to collaborate or educate, our versatile meeting places, workspaces, and studios await. Your next big idea starts here. Make our space your space. The Create Space at IKS.
IKS Game Day wishes to congratulate the city of Estevan and Affinity Place on their brand new center ice display. This state-of-the-art score clock features 5 LED faces with full motion graphics, scoring integration, and our new halo mounting system. If it's time for an upgrade, Let us show you how to deliver the best fan experience. You can find us at iksgameday.com.
The live sports experience is changing. Teams and facilities are under pressure to provide online and in-venue entertainment. IKS Live has the right team to deliver. We provide service across North America and produce the best fan experience, in the seats or streaming to you. IKS Live continues to bring you the best seat in the house.
Text 902-518-3033. 902-518-3033. Pick up your phone and text RP, that's Rod Pedersen. Text 902-518-3033.
Business owners and marketers. Okay, we know you think we're pretty cool. That's why we want you to share in the coolness factor. Partner with the Rod Pedersen Show and market your business every weekday to sports lovers just like yourself. Take advantage of our many cost-effective commercial and promotional opportunities. Tell the world about your business. Yes, the world. Thanks to Game Plus TV and the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. Contact us today and find out how you can be a part of Canada's fastest-growing sports talk show, The Rod Pedersen Show.
Right now, Darren.
You know, Andre DuPont, the old Philadelphia Flyer tough guy, was nicknamed Moose.
And you being a tough guy.
Right. But in hockey, when I was younger, another player came across the middle and made the most devastating check I've ever made in my life. Take off the helmet, and it's a girl. And so the coach slapped it. Attaboy, Moose. Just like the Moose. And I'm like, I have no idea who that is, right?
The one sports show where roughing is encouraged.
Welcome, the Darren DuPont Show on the air here on a Tuesday, and a great Tuesday it is. Good day to be talking sports. The clouds are rolling in. Gorgeous day. We got our coffee. We got plenty of breaking news, and we're going to try and slow things down a little bit here as we welcome you to this episode of the RP Show podcast and our second hour here on a Tuesday on the Game Plus Television Network. You can write us at 902-518-3033. There's a chance we may drop a little hockey into this episode. There was some breaking news today that we recapped an hour ago. Offer sheets to the Oilers, Philip Broberg and Dylan Holloway, offer sheets from the St. Louis Blues. So potentially Jason Gregor will join us in this hour. Maybe. That could be a last-minute add to the show. But because there's also news out of the Edmonton Elks organization when it comes to ownership. We're going to talk about that coming up here in a little bit. But how's your Tuesday? How are you guys doing? We say hello and good afternoon to everybody watching. The Barflies are watching. Scott, Jeremy. We say hello to Robin in Prince Albert, Glenn in Medicine Hat. Those watching all across the country. Really around the continent. Ryan McCarthy was watching in New York. Here's one from Trent Bruner in Norway. He says, Norway here. I like the Moose Crew. When Darren is alone too. I'm cool with that. We could call it the Moose Crew. Works for me. He says, as for Mr. Rourke, I'm not surprised with this signing. He's got to keep his skills up somehow. Grey Cup is in BC's mind. Stay well, everybody. That's the breaking news this morning in the Canadian Football League. Nathan Rourke is set to sign a 3-year deal with the BC Lions. Expected to join the team on Wednesday and be at their media availability. Massive news in the Canadian Football League. And Farhan Lalji reporting that there's a real likelihood Rourke could start on Sunday against Winnipeg. The deal's for 3 years through 2026. And some folks, in the comments are talking about Nathan Rourke and what that future possibility might look like. And these playbooks are complex. And coming in short notice, there's no way he could just come in and play and be ready to go. Yeah, he could. They can limit the playbook if it's too complex. Not that it's too complex for him, but if he needs time to get up to speed, if that playbook has changed significantly since he was the starting quarterback and the 2022 most outstanding Canadian in the CFL. They can limit it. They can work with him. That won't be a problem. The playbook will not be an issue for Nathan Rourke. He could be in and up to speed. The fact that they don't play till Sunday gives him Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, gives him 4 full days to get up to speed. He's a professional player who played in the organization. That's not an issue. It really isn't. The other spin-off of this is, what does this mean for the future of Vernon Adams, who's out with an injury right now? Farhan follows up by saying, do not expect VA to be going anywhere this season. The plan isn't simply to hand the job over to Nathan full-time. VA has earned the respect of everyone in the organization. As for the offseason, I've said before, all 9 times would have been interested in Nathan, I think, at least. So Vernon Adams, Nathan Rourke, if he plays on Sunday and wins, does he keep playing? The BC Lions have lost 3 in a row. The BC Lions are in a battle in a very tight CFL West division. You want to look at the teams in the playoffs of BC, Saskatchewan, and Calgary. Well, Winnipeg is a team that a lot of us feel will be in that mix come the end of the season. The Edmonton Elks are a team that we feel could find their way into the mix come playoff time. Now, let's not get ahead of ourselves. They've won 2 games. Now, they've been in a row. They need to win 2 more games in short order to get back into the mix. But the way they've looked with Trey Ford at quarterback, that's very well a possibility. The BC Lions are hosting the Grey Cup in Vancouver this year. Nathan Rourke could be the team leading BC into the playoffs and hopefully to a Grey Cup if you're in that organization. This is very, very interesting and changes things a ton. So much so that let's pull up, if you have, the CFL futures odds, Clark. I dug these up this morning after the news of Nathan Rourke signing in BC dropped. And this is the updated odds in the Canadian Football League. The BC Lions have superseded the Montreal Alouettes and become the odds-on favorites to win the Grey Cup at plus 185. That's what this Nathan Rourke signing has done to the odds, the betting odds. And at plus 185, they're the favorites over the Montreal Alouettes, who are 8-1, by the way, who are the defending Grey Cup champions, who went on a run in the second half of last year and have not let up since. Saskatchewan is 3rd, and we've got news out of Saskatchewan as well. Corey May saying that the Riders may have Trevor Harris. He may start this week. He was taking first-team reps on Tuesday as they opened the practice week. Ottawa, the 4th best odds ahead of Toronto, or right there even with Toronto. Then the Winnipeg Blue Bombers, the Calgary Stampeders, Edmonton, and Hamilton round things out. So the odds makers still think Winnipeg is going to find their footing and get ahead of Calgary and potentially have a better chance to win. Edmonton still and Hamilton the longest of odds, but the Elks might have some value there if they can continue to find some wins. Same with Toronto, depending on what happens with the quarterback situation. But with Nathan Rourke signing in BC, the Lions, #1 odds to win the Grey Cup. Thanks for bringing that up.
How about that?
So what do you guys think? We got a lot of comments to dig through here. I know that Kevin the Medium is really excited. He wrote in here a little while ago, and I want to find it here. Bear with me. He says, here we go. Good morning, RP peeps. This irrational fan is ecstatic with the Rourke news. Yeah, I can imagine. And you should be. You should be. Now, is this still Vernon Adams' team when he's healthy? That's the question. I think long-term, you got Nathan Rourke locked into a 3-year contract. I think long-term, you think this is Nathan's team, and that would make sense. But I think when you look at what VA has done, I think he's earned the opportunity to continue to be the starting quarterback in BC. Before he got hurt, this team was in a really good spot. I mean, despite the loss to Winnipeg, that was tough, 25-0. And there's other areas on the BC Lions that need to be cleaned up. But, Nathan Rourke adds a whole nother wrinkle. And on Sunday, if he's starting, we're all going to be watching. And if he plays really well, that's going to make things really interesting. And Rick Campbell's going to have a lot of tough decisions to make down the stretch, depending on when VA is healthy. It's tough, really tough. But if you're the BC Lions, you're trying to get to the Grey Cup. You're trying to go all in on a season where you've got weapons. And now you have, you always had a quarterback that is capable of being an MOP, is a Grey Cup winner for your team, can lead you to a Grey Cup. And now you just got a massive, massive insurance policy in Nathan Rourke. I think this is awesome. Now, Rob Scott's watching. He says, I'm worried that after 4 different teams, QB coaches in relatively short order, like 4 different teams, 4 different quarterback coaches in relatively short order, Rourke's throwing mechanics are going to be bunged up. No, Nathan Rourke has been working with a quarterback coach, the same QB coach, like personal coach that the Titans' Will Levis is using, that other NFL players have used. That's where his mechanics are developed. He's in Vancouver. He's very good. He goes by the handle QB Motion on Instagram. That's Nathan Rourke's personal coach. That's where the mechanics are developed. I don't think he's going into these camps and they're trying to change his mechanics with the Jets and with the Falcons. This is a situation of getting in, let's see what you've got, and do we want to invest more capital in you and have you on our roster? And if that's the case, then you're going to work closer with the quarterback on mechanics and things like that. It was mostly an audition process. I'm not worried about his mechanics one bit at all. So Rob goes on to say, color me as, quote, guardedly enthusiastic. So doesn't want to get too enthusiastic yet on Nathan Rourke's signing. Jeff, the Stamps fan, says, folks are putting a lot of pressure on Rourke. BC has issues besides quarterback. Good point. And it is 1:11 Eastern, 11:11 Mountain, as we talk about Nathan Rourke. Interesting. Allie writes in from Texas. Sounds like a good problem to have. It is a good problem to have. Robin and PA says, is Vernon Adams willing to stay as a backup this year and next year? I can't speak for VA. I don't know VA. We've never had a personal conversation. I don't think, Farhan reported that VA is not going anywhere. This is still VA's team. That Nathan isn't, it's not for a foregone conclusion that Nathan Rourke is the starting quarterback this year. Sounds like he's on track to play this week. And we're going to get a lot of questions answered on Wednesday when Nathan Rourke meets the Vancouver media or is reintroduced to the Vancouver media for the first time this season since signing his contract, right? We're going to get some questions answered, and we're going to listen to that press conference, and we're going to bring you all of the insights from it. It's going to be very, very interesting. We're going to hear from Rick Campbell on Wednesday because they don't play till Sunday, so they're not going to open their week till Wednesday. Wayne in BC says, I don't expect Rourke to be affected by the pressure. I don't either. I think there's a lot of pressure on the kid to come back and play well. There's a lot of pressure that since he was in the NFL and played well in that, we look at the Jacksonville stint as his best work, and that is his best film. We look at that and say, this is what Nathan Rourke can do. And if that didn't get him a shot in Jacksonville, what will? I think there's a lot of pressure that he needs to come back to the CFL and be an MOP. I don't know if that's realistic or not. I think Nathan will come back hungry. I think he'll be excited to be there. I think he's got some weapons. I think BC has a lot of pieces. I think there's going to be a lot of wait and see. And for Vernon Adams, he'll assess his options in the offseason. And there will be options for Vernon Adams. We don't know what the situation moving forward is going to be in some markets. What's going to happen in Hamilton? A lot of questions in Hamilton. Bo Levi Mitchell, is this the end for him? It's funny that we're saying that about a guy who's the leading passer in the league, has thrown the most touchdown passes, but he's also thrown the most interceptions, I believe. And is Taylor Powell going to get his opportunity this week? What does the situation look like in Hamilton? Scott Milanovich would love to have VA, I'm sure, or Nathan Rourke, or, one of these quarterbacks. VA will have an option there. What's the situation going to be like moving forward in Ottawa? I think they're pretty happy with Drew Brown as the quarterback, and the team's playing really well. What happens beyond this season in Saskatchewan? Trevor Harris is getting older, has struggled to stay healthy. We know when he is healthy, he's one of the best quarterbacks in the Canadian Football League. But what happens to the Saskatchewan Roughriders with Trevor Harris and Shea Patterson as the backup? Could there be a fit for VA again in Saskatchewan? Calgary is a team that's middle of the pack. Anytime you can upgrade at the quarterback position, I think you want to upgrade the quarterback position. Kevin, the medium, writes in and says, it's Rourke's team. Don't fool yourself. No matter what's said, Nathan's starting the rest of the season. I think you'd like to see it. But also you do have to protect that locker room. And I think VA is well-liked, and VA is a locker room guy, and there's going to be a lot of questions to be answered. And it is going to be a lot of fun to watch this unfold. It really is. Look, we're going to take a quick break. We're going to come back and open up the text line a little more, talk more about this. The Edmonton Elks are getting closer to new ownership. We're going to talk about that on the other side of the break and look ahead a little bit more on the football side. NFL notes coming from last weekend's preseason. We'll put a wrap on that and look ahead to more, including a look at the WCBL playoffs, as we got a couple of game threes tonight. And we're going to visit with the Saskatoon Berries coming up later on in this hour. So lots to get to here as we still roll through hour two on a Tuesday. The Game Plus Television Network is our flagship network across Canada and into the United States. You are listening on our radio affiliates in Atlanta, WQEE, on YouTube Live, or the podcast on Apple and Spotify.
Text 902-518-3033. 902-518-3033. Pick up your phone and text RP, that's Rod Pedersen. Text 902-518-3033.
We're all capable of doing more. More speed, more reps, more commitment to getting every detail perfect. And that's why it's important we never miss a donation appointment. Blood and plasma donors are needed every day in Canada to support thousands of patients that rely on Canada's lifeline. We're asking you to join the Hockey Gives Blood Partners for Life team. Join today by downloading the Give Blood app or book online at blood.ca/HGB.
The 80s Club, live in Moose Jaw. Honeymoon Suite, along with a flock of seagulls. Men without hats. And spoons. All together for one night at Moose Jaw Event Center, Saturday, November 16th. Tickets on sale now at sasktix.ca or the Moose Jaw Event Center box office.
Welcome to the Create Space at IKS Media. Meetings, podcasts, studio. Whether you're here to collaborate or educate, our versatile meeting places, workspaces, and studios await. Your next big idea starts here. Make our space your space. The Create Space at IKS.
Sounds like he knows what he's doing a little bit. As long as you're entertained. Aren't you entertained?
Here's how your business can be a part of Canada's fastest growing sports talk show. All you have to do is contact us, and we will tell you all about the dynamic and exciting marketing opportunities we have, utilizing a fully integrated 360-degree multi-platform. Imagine your business seen and heard across Canada on Game Plus TV and around the world on the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. You will use one of the most overused expressions in sports. You gotta be kidding me. Get your business involved. Contact the Rod Pedersen Show today.
Send us your opinions now. We won't victimize you unless you really deserve it. Now, back to your host, Rod Pedersen.
Hey, a sports update before we continue here. Facing elimination in Game 2 of the East Final, the Moose Jaw Miller Express knocked off the Saskatoon Berries 17-6 on Monday night. It avoided a sweep and forced Game 3 on Tuesday night. Meanwhile, the West Final is going to the limit also. The Okotoks Dogs scored a 3-2 win over Sylvan Lake, forcing Game 3 on Tuesday. It was the Gulls' first loss of the playoffs, and we'll be joined by a member, Steve Hildebrand of the Saskatoon Berries, coming up in the next segment to talk about the playoffs. The Toronto Maple Leafs have called a press conference for Wednesday morning, at which time they're expected to announce Austin Matthews as the 26th captain in club history. It marks the first time the team has ever had an American captain. The first full weekend of preseason games featuring the NFL's new dynamic kickoff featured 2 long returns, significant drop in touchbacks, and mass confusion on an odd play that ended up as a rare safety. The NFL's goals of increasing the rate of returns and bringing back the threat of a big play were mostly accomplished. NFL said 81% of kicks have been returned so far. And in the CFL, Nathan Rourke has signed a 3-year contract with the BC Lions, expected to be announced on Wednesday when he meets the media, and the Lions return to practice ahead of Week 11 in the CFL. Farhan Lalji at TSN reporting Nathan could potentially start this week with the game not being till Sunday. And veteran QB Trevor Harris has returned to practice with the Rough Riders on Monday. He ran the first-team offense. He's missed the past 6 games with a knee injury. Head coach Corey Mace said there's a shot that Harris will play Friday when they host the Montreal Alouettes. And finally, the breaking news this morning in the NHL, to go along with Austin Matthews, set to become Leafs captain, is the St. Louis Blues have signed a pair of Edmonton Oilers to offer sheets. Philip Broberg and Dylan Holloway have signed offer sheets to the St. Louis Blues. The Oilers right now are sitting a little over $300,000 over the NHL salary cap, and they have 7 days to match the offer, or the St. Louis Blues will forfeit a couple of draft picks. The sports update is for EMJ Marketing. Transform your audience with a powerful presentation from EMJ Marketing's elite speakers. Check out the website, emjmarketing.com, for more. We got more news coming out of the Canadian Football League today from Dave Naylor. He says, hearing the new owner of the Edmonton Elks has been approved by both the team's board and the CFL. It marks the end of an era of 75 years of community ownership. The introduction is expected before the end of the week. He goes on to say, and I just lost it here. According to a source, The new owner of the Edmonton Elks is Larry Thompson. He comes from the construction business. He's local and a longtime season ticket holder. Larry Thompson set to become the new owner of the Edmonton Elks. So a lot of news coming down in the Canadian Football League. A lot to sink our teeth into. Nathan Rourke, Trevor Harris, and now this news in Edmonton, Larry Thompson going to be the new owner. John Kirby writes in from St. Albert, Alberta, and he says, this is great. An owner who's a fan, who will know the fans' issues and what they want or to see or what they want changed. There are some things he can't change because the stadium is owned by the city, like the concessions, the clear bag policy. But he says, I love it if it's true. I hope he listens to the fans. So that's from John in Edmonton. It's good news. We knew that Garrick Jones and a group of former players were interested in purchasing the Edmonton Elks. It doesn't sound like that's the case. Haven't spoken with Garrick. I don't believe he's part of this group with Larry Thompson. But there might be other opportunities. You've got somebody local, somebody who knows what the fans' issues are, which I think is great. And coming from, the business side, the construction business, I don't know Larry Thompson, but money is always an issue. Making sure that you can put the resources into the team, despite the returns on those investments. That's important when it comes to ownership. No owner in sports wants to pour money into an organization and lose money. But this is also for owners, needs to be a passion project, needs to be something they're interested in, and they need to be in a situation where they can afford to spend money and have a long vision, a long-term vision to build things back up. Because when things are bottoming out, that's when we need to spend money. And it's something that happens in politics all the time, I believe. And I, again, not a political guy here, but, oftentimes we hear people complain about the deficit and how much money we owe and the deficit we're in. And as humans, we look at the credit card bill all the time and we want to keep a balanced budget. We want that credit card bill to be at zero. And the best investment you can make is paying your credit card, not buying a stock. Because typically, when you pay down your credit card, you're saving 19% interest, 20-some percent interest, right? For a lot of people. That's more than the return you're going to get on a typical investment, on a relatively safe investment. So paying down that credit card. But in order to keep a standard of living, in order to build, when times are tough, that's when we need to go in debt, right? When times are tough, we spend money to build that standard of living back up. When times are great, that's typically when we're supposed to pay down the debt, right? That's what the credit card's for. When you got times that are tough, to make sure you can put food on the table and you can take care of your family and you can do the things that you want to do. You use that when times are tough. And then when times are great, you pay it down. So when it comes to ownership, I would think we all agree that times have been pretty tough in Edmonton. And this is a time where we need to build this back up. So we need to spend money on players. We need to spend money on marketing. We need to build the game day experience up to get the fans into the stadium. And we pay that credit card bill when the times are good. Now, can't be reckless. Nobody wants to lose money year after year after year after year, but that's a big thing that comes into ownership. When you're having those meetings, are you willing to lose money? No. Okay, I don't expect you to be willing to lose money, but are you able to handle the expenses that are going to go with a team that has no fans, right? Or is struggling at the gate. I don't want to say the Edmonton Elks have no fans because they have a lot of fans, but a team that's been struggling at the gate. I've seen comments watching the game on Sunday at how much better the stadium looked. Wasn't great, but it wasn't empty either. Trey Ford, a quarterback, even that move alone has seemed to ignite the fan base a little bit. This seems like a good move that you're going to get new ownership in Edmonton. I think there's signs in Edmonton that things might be turning around. If they keep winning a few more games and Trey Ford plays an exciting brand of football and you're putting 30-plus points on the board every week, and now you've got ownership with somebody local that's been in the community, that's been a season ticket holder, that can relate to the fans. I think there's a lot of good signs in Edmonton. I really do. And this could be turning around. You've got an exciting run game in Javon Leake. You've got some weapons. Eugene Lewis is there, and okay, he hasn't been utilized that well so far this season. His streak of 77 straight games with a catch was snapped this past week, but you have him in your offense. Tevin Jones is playing really well. It went over 100 yards. Again, Javon Leake, explosive, exciting. Trey Ford, exciting. Ownership now exciting. There's a lot of excitement building in Edmonton. And if I'm an Elks fan, if I'm an Edmonton football fan, I'm getting really excited at where this team is headed. I think, maybe we're turning a corner. I think we're turning a corner in Edmonton. I really do. Love to hear your thoughts. 902-518-3033. Maybe I'm getting ahead of myself a little bit. Maybe we're not quite ready to be turning a corner in Edmonton, or, saying that the Edmonton franchise is back. Probably a little early on that. But Ken writes in, says ownership in CFL requires a lot of money. Is this actually an interim ownership like Gary Stern in Montreal until an extremely well-financed group is found? Good question. But the ownership has at least been answered for now. And this is a big change from community ownership for 75 years to now having an owner in Mr. Thompson. Wayne writes in, he has a question. He says, is VA a free agent next year? I hadn't heard how long he signed for when he first went to BC in 2023. I believe he is. If not, he'll have the option. They'll find a way to accommodate. I don't know that you're going to keep VA and Nathan Rourke both on the roster moving forward after this year. I think, signing Nathan Rourke to a 3-year deal shows the commitment that he's the next guy. Is that transition going to happen now? Probably some sort of a transition. VA may be the quarterback. They may have both guys taking snaps. This will be an interesting challenge for Rick Campbell. And we're going to probably hear some answers to these questions on Wednesday. We really are. John Ohm writes in and says, as a CFL fan, I'm very happy Edmonton is turning the corner. We need all 9 teams to be on solid ground. Go CFL, go. And I couldn't like that anymore. I think I completely agree with you, John. It's better when all teams are thriving and in a great spot. It's not always possible, but we've taken a step towards the Edmonton franchise being in a better position today than they were yesterday. We really have. Take another look inside here. At the Nathan Rourke situation. They'll play this week on Sunday, and Nathan Rourke likely will be the starting quarterback of the Edmonton Elks. I still think that is wild. We were sitting here yesterday talking about, him going back in the NFL and where he might go. And look, I'll pull up some of my notes because I started looking at where some possible landing spots would be. And here's the top 3 landing spots I had for Nathan Rourke before the news came out this morning of him signing with the BC Lions for 3 years and returning to the Canadian Football League, where he was the 2022 most outstanding Canadian. Here's the top 3. In third place, I had the LA Chargers. Justin Herbert as the starting quarterback, and that is solidified. But then Luis Perez, 29 years old. Easton Stick, greatest name in football, 28 years old. And if you remember TCU Horned Frogs quarterback Max Duggan, 23 years old, are the other quarterbacks on the roster. I thought, there's an opportunity to weasel your way in because between Perez, Easton Stick, and Duggan, none are really solidified as, names we really are familiar with, good quarterbacks. Marcus Brady is the passing game coordinator, a former CFL quarterback himself and a CFL coach. And Jim Harbaugh is an outside-the-box thinker. I thought LA might have been a good fit for Nathan Rourke. I thought the Carolina Panthers would be a good fit for Nathan Rourke. Bryce Young had a up-and-down first season in the National Football League. Andy Dalton, at 36 years old, is the backup for now. Jack Plummer and Jake Luton, at 24 and 28 years old, are the third and fourth quarterbacks. So, you look at those types of things, might be an opportunity to work your way in. A lot better than trying to work your way into the Atlanta quarterback room, which we've now learned that John Paddock's been signed after getting released to make room for Rourke to have a bit of a tryout. They've brought John Paddock back to the Atlanta Falcons. And the number one place I thought Nathan Rourke would be a great fit would be the Vegas Raiders. I thought with Gardner Minshew and Aiden O'Connell battling for the number one job, I like Gardner Minshew a lot. He's 28. Aiden O'Connell at 25 is still a young quarterback. But neither really strikes me as, wow, Vegas really has their quarterback situation figured out. And then Anthony Brown Jr. at 26 and Carter Bradley at 24 years old are the other two quarterbacks on the roster. I thought there might be an opportunity because they've got an unclear number one and number two. The depth isn't clear. We don't know who the next guy is in Vegas. That's not clear either. They should be interested in trying out multiple quarterbacks to see if they can't find somebody, uncover a hidden gem, and they can splash in a draft or free agency and lock down the next quarterback. Super Bowl lot, futures on. So there's that too. Situation. Vegas would be number one. But guess what? None of those questions need to even be asked because Nathan Rourke signed with the BC Lions. We'll recap more of this as the hour goes along, but we're going to switch our attention to baseball next because we have a really exciting night in the Western Canadian Baseball League. Game threes. The East and West Division Finals are a best of three, and they both got extended to game threes tonight. Okotoks and Sylvan Lake will do battle in the West, and in the East, the Moose Jaw Miller Express and the Saskatoon Berries. How about a Saskatoon Moose Jaw rivalry heating up on the prairies? Look, for those fans across the country watching this show, it was Saskatoon and Moose Jaw in the Western Hockey League playoffs, junior hockey, and now they do battle in game three in baseball coming up tonight. We'll talk to the Saskatoon Berries, Steve Hildebrand, next. The RP Show continues on the Game Plus Television Network, WQEE Radio, streaming on YouTube or on the podcast, Apple and Spotify.
Welcome to the Create Space at IKS Media. Meetings, podcasts, studio. Whether you're here to collaborate or educate, our versatile meeting places, workspaces, and studios await. Your next big idea starts here. Make our space your space. The Create Space at IKS.
Text 902-518-3033. 902-518-3033. Pick up your phone and text RP, that's Rod Pedersen. Text 902-518-3033.
Did you know that you can help save a life? And you can start right now.
Stem cells from male donors increase chances of positive outcomes for patients, yet they only make up 40% of our registry.
Today, there are hundreds of people in Canada searching for their life-saving match.
You can be a patient's best hope. Be a hero by registering with Canadian Blood Services Stem Cell Registry now.
I'm Bridget Lacquette. I'm a First Nation Olympic silver medalist, and I'm proud to represent Indigenous hockey players across Canada. Each year, hundreds of Canadians need a stem cell transplant from an unrelated donor to save their life. Anyone can have a hard time finding a stem cell match, but for Indigenous peoples, it can be even more difficult because just over 1% of prospective donors on Canada's stem cell registry are of Indigenous backgrounds. Be a hero. Join me in Hockey Gives Blood in helping to make a life-saving difference to those in need. Register today at blood.ca/beahero.
Sounds like he knows what he's doing a little bit. As long as you're entertained. Aren't you entertained?
Hi, my name is Logan Stankoven. And I'm Connor Bedard. We're both Hockey Gives Blood player ambassadors and proud to be blood donors. There are thousands of patients each year in Canada that rely on a generous stranger to save their life. Please book an appointment today to donate blood at blood.ca/HGB.
Business owners and marketers. Okay, we know you think we're pretty cool. That's why we want you to share in the coolness factor. Partner with the Rod Pedersen Show and market your business every weekday to sports lovers just like yourself. Take advantage of our many cost-effective commercial and promotional opportunities. Tell the world about your business. Yes, the world. Thanks to Game Plus TV and the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. Contact us today and find out how you can be a part of Canada's fastest-growing sports talk show, The Rod Pedersen Show.
Oh, yeah, he's back. Time for more of the Rod Pedersen Show.
The Rod Pedersen Show, no, the Darren DuPont Show continues this week. Rod's away on vacation, so we get to do things our way here for a little bit. And welcome you back to the program. 902-518-3033 on what's been a roller coaster of a Tuesday already. We got a couple of Game 3s tonight in the Western Canadian Baseball League. Okotoks and Sylvan Lake will play Game 3 in the West Division Final. And in the East, Moose Jaw and Saskatoon are headed to Game 3 at Cairns Field in Saskatoon. Steve Hildebrand joins us from the Saskatoon Berries. When do you get a break, Steve? Get the Blades logo over your shoulder and the rush. Do you ever get a vacation?
First of all, what a treat to have Darren DuPont today. What a treat.
That?
It is fantastic.
I'm glad we could accommodate.
No, it's been great. I get a break. We find time here and there, so it's all good. Everything's been good. So excited for tonight again. Here we go again, and it's been a lot of fun.
You know what? I don't know who's running the social media actively, but they did a great job last night. Look, Game 1 was out of hand. The score, you guys were able to put a big win on the board. Last night, not quite your way, but I chuckled following on social. They put up a Where's Waldo, like the books, and they're like, find the score. They're hiding the score in there because you don't want to say it's 17-6. I get it. So, bravo to whoever's running your social feed.
Yeah, Amran Wahidi does all our social for the Berries. He does an outstanding job. Again, he learns from our group here at Sask Entertainment Group, and all our teams do an outstanding job on their social media. So, it's been good.
So, what do you expect tonight? You got to be close to. Well, I mean, I don't even know what capacity it would be because you could stack people up along the fence. I haven't been able to been at a game, but it looks amazing. You seem to have really found a market in that city. I mean, I was around when the Yellow Jackets were there, and being at the ballpark is always great. But what I've seen out of this iteration of baseball in Saskatoon has just been mind blowing in the best way possible.
Yeah, it's been great. I think for the most part, it's our group. Our team has done an amazing job right from day one. The banter back and forth about the name, the colors. I mean, I can't tell you how many arguments we had about the colors in-house. It's been really well thought out by everyone. We've had a lot of fun with it. Obviously, this isn't possible without Mr. Priestner, and he gave us the okay to do this. And I felt very comfortable in knowing that baseball was needed. This caliber of baseball was needed back in Saskatoon. As you know, pretty passionate about the game of baseball, and I think seeing it come to fruition has been pretty cool. And again, there's multiple people behind the scenes that have done an outstanding job. But everything from our merch to the fans to the ballpark, the guys at Gordie Howe have done a good job. Obviously, Joe, just an outstanding human being, has done a great job with the team. And here we are today. And last look, we were at 1,800 seats and capacity. We're around 2,250. And that's all in the matter of getting ready to go. So if anyone out there watching, if you want to get to the ballpark tonight, you better get your seats quick.
That's unbelievable. Great stuff. I mean, you're going to get over 2,000 at the ballpark. That's going to be an electric atmosphere. How much of this, obviously we know this is a summer collegiate baseball league and you bring players in from across the United States, but you got some local talent too. And we're all excited. We get to watch Carter Beck all the time and how much fun he's been. How important is it to have that local flavor and, the Saskatchewan kids on the roster?
Yeah, I said it since day one. It was something we kind of wanted. We wanted to make sure that, the local flavor was a part of our group. Now, in saying that, they have to earn it too. It's just not they're going to be on there just because they're local. So it was a part of it. We're very fortunate. I think there's a lot of people. I commend, all the U18 coaches, the minor ball coaches have done an outstanding job with a lot of people here in Saskatoon. And the guys that we have on our team are legitimately great baseball players, and we're happy to have them. And it really adds to what we're trying to do here.
Forget about, PA being the big rival, of the Blades, and right, an hour down the road are the two big cities, Saskatoon, Regina. How much do you hate Moose Jaw? Because it's now Saskatoon, Moose Jaw, the battle in hockey and now in baseball going to Game 3. I mean,
spicy.
I think for a fan, it's awesome, but you got to be sick of each other by now.
Yeah, it is what it is. I mean, the irony of it all is really cool. I think for the fans, it's outstanding. I've seen some banter online. It's awesome. I think it's just great for the two communities. We need more of this in sport. I really believe that. I think, sometimes the scheduling and the way things have gone, it doesn't always work out. But I think it's great. I think it's great for the two communities. But at the end of the day, we'll just have another baseball game tonight.
It's just another game. Game 3. It's going to be a fun night. Now, with both division finals going to Game 3 and, the first year inside the Western Canadian Baseball League, what's the whole experience been like in the league? And where would you say the health of the WCBL is at?
The health is good. It's on its way up. I think overall it's been a great experience for us. I think we're going to be able to help add to that, especially with our experience with our other teams, the Rush and the Blades. And, there's always going to be things I think he can work on, but overall it's been great. And again, excited about where we're at and where we've, got to. And, hopefully we can find a way to get one out tonight. And, it's been a great story. And I can't thank everyone in our organization enough for all the work they've done.
Steve, I appreciate this. Enjoy Game 3. I'll say go Berries because I think Rod's on the Moose Jaw side, and I'm a Saskatoon guy. So good luck tonight.
I appreciate that. Yeah, thanks a lot, Darren.
Saskatoon Berries. They play Game 3 against the Moose Jaw Miller Express. It's going to be a lot of fun. And Game 3 going on in the West too. Okotoks at Sylvan Lake, the Dogs standing at Sylvan Lake. Their first loss of the playoffs. They've had a great season, the Gulls have. So it's going to be fun. And a crash course towards the best of 3 WCBL finals. Can't wait. I believe Home Team Live has the broadcasts tonight. So should be lots of fun. To the text line, we'll answer your questions. Overtime on the way. Let's just slow down, put our feet up a little bit, and try and digest all the info we've had today. Like, this is supposed to be August. This is supposed to be the middle of August where we take our last trip to the lake, to the cottage. This is supposed to be when we take vacation. But we have breaking news in the NHL. We have Nathan Rourke signing in the CFL. We have ownership news out of the Edmonton Elks. We've got Game 3 in the Western Canadian Baseball League. There's no resting today. And we'll try and answer any of your questions you still have or get your comments in. 902-518-3033. Overtime coming up next here on the Rod Pedersen Show. Tuesday, live across the Game Plus television network. Our radio affiliates at WQEE Atlanta, YouTube Live, Apple, and Spotify.
summer. 12 teams, 2 provinces, pacing towards 400,000 fans, an all-time high in 2024. The WCBL had a record number of players drafted in this summer's Major League Baseball draft. 2024 playoffs start August 7th.
The live sports experience is changing. Teams and facilities are under pressure to provide online and in-venue entertainment. IKS Live has the right team to deliver. We provide service across North America and produce the best fan experience, in the seats or streaming to you. IKS Live continues to bring you the best seat in the house.
Welcome to the Create Space at IKS Media. Meetings, podcasts, studio. Whether you're here to collaborate or educate, our versatile meeting places, workspaces, and studios await. Your next big idea starts here. Make our space your space. The Create Space at IKS.
Hi, my name is Logan Stankoven. And I'm Connor Bedard. We're both Hockey Gives Blood player ambassadors and proud to be blood donors.
There are thousands of patients each year in Canada that rely on a generous stranger to save their life.
Please book an appointment today to donate blood at blood.ca/HGB.
Text 902-518-3033. 902-518-3033. Pick up your phone and text RP, that's Rod Pedersen. Text 902-518-3033.
Here's how your business can be a part of Canada's fastest growing sports talk show. All you have to do is contact us, and we will tell you all about the dynamic and exciting marketing opportunities we have, utilizing a fully integrated 360-degree multi-platform. Imagine your business seen and heard across Canada on Game Plus TV and around the world on the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. You will use one of the most overused expressions in sports. You gotta be kidding me. Get your business involved. Contact the Rod Pedersen Show today.
You got something to say? You want to add to the show? What are you waiting for? Don't just sit there. Say something. Now, back to the studio with Rod.
Welcome back to the show. A wild Tuesday on the RP show. I feel like it's just setting up to be that kind of a week. I'm creating content and topics that I'm not even using. I wanted to talk about the Montreal Alouettes today, and I teased that on Instagram a little bit. I'm going to push that to tomorrow. We just don't have time to get into it. And to be honest, it's going to be relevant tomorrow. The Montreal Alouettes are 8-1 to start the year, and they're setting some Alouettes records. So we're going to talk about that tomorrow. We might have to push that to Thursday. You know, when you start getting things backed up and it's just, you know, the schedule gets crazy and things get delayed and you got to start pushing things to the next day. That's where we're at because the news continues to break. So Nathan Rourke is a BC Lion. As I should let you know, we are in overtime, and overtime is brought to you by Overtime Hockey Lanes. Looking for the perfect place to perfect your shot? Look no further than Overtime Hockey Lanes in Calgary. Visit overtimehl.ca. Nathan Rourke signing in BC. 3 years. Going to meet the media tomorrow when the BC Lions return to practice ahead of their Week 11 game on Sunday. Instantly, the BC Lions are the favorites to win the Grey Cup at plus 185. Look, this is unfortunate for VA, but if you can sign Nathan Rourke, you sign Nathan Rourke, and you worry about everything else later. Situation with your starting quarterback, salary cap and money. You worry about all that later. If you can sign Nathan Rourke, you sign Nathan Rourke. And the other news of the day was in Edmonton, where we have learned that the Edmonton Elks are set to unveil new ownership. According to a source, new owner of the Edmonton Elks is Larry Thompson. This from TSN's Dave Naylor. Larry Thompson comes from the construction business, local, longtime season ticket holder. So good news for the CFL. And it feels like the Edmonton Elks are turning the corner as a franchise. Doesn't it? It feels like they've turned a corner. It feels like the Edmonton Elks, have turned the corner. You know, Trey Ford at quarterback. There's excitement around that team. Fans are starting to come back slowly. They've won 2 games in a row. And Edmonton is in a situation now, if they can get ownership secured, maybe there's nowhere to go but up. And that's great news after a really rough few years in Edmonton. NFL notes before we say goodbye. And the Jerry Jones, CeeDee Lamb situation seems to not be getting a resolution, but seems to be getting closer to getting a resolution. CeeDee Lamb is in the middle of a contract holdout. He's poised to make $17.9 million in the final year of his rookie deal. This, while 4 receivers have signed new deals of at least $30 million per season. CeeDee Lamb was a top 3 receiver in nearly every statistical category last year and led the NFL in a number of those categories. Jerry Jones clarified some comments where he had talked about not having any urgency to sign CD, and CeeDee Lamb said LOL on Twitter. Well, now Jerry Jones has said that you're missed and that they'd like to get him signed. And Adam Schefter was on TSN and ESPN this morning saying he expects the deal to get done before the start of training camp. That's very interesting. Rookie quarterbacks, Caleb Williams and Bo Nix had pretty good opening weeks in the preseason. There was a pretty good opening week from a number of quarterbacks, including Jaden Daniels, who looked pretty good. I thought that J.J. McCarthy looked really good for Minnesota. A lot of Vikings fans watched the show. As we get towards the weekend, and probably on Friday, we'll dive more into the NFL. But tonight is episode 2 of Hard Knocks, and we're going to watch. If you watched episode 1 of Hard Knocks last week on HBO, and I believe it's out on DAZN now, you saw a lot of great things. Look, I watch because I'm curious about the behind-the-scenes stuff. I wanted to know what Chicago was like, their facility. We don't get to see much of the Bears. They've never been on Hard Knocks. But look, Matt Eberflus, the head coach, didn't really inspire me. But watching him on Hard Knocks, I'm starting to become a little more of a fan because you get to know who he is as a person. We all saw the clip of UBC Thunderbirds offensive lineman, the Canadian Theo Benedict, who was drafted by the Bears. You know, when they got the rookies and they got to come up to the front of the meeting room and kind of embarrass themselves, sing a song, tell a joke, whatever. Well, he ended up stripping right down to a little G string with an American flag on it. And, you know, kind of did his little American introduction, got some laughs, and they've called him the Eagle, the Canadian Eagle. That's the nickname for Theo Benedict. Now, unfortunately, he got hurt in Bears training camp, and don't know the extent of that injury. But hopefully it's not a serious one and he can get back to camp because he's trying to earn a roster spot. And now he's built a bit of an identity and has become a bit of a cult hero through this show. Unreal stuff. So episode 2 of Hard Knocks, which mostly features Caleb Williams, but had a cameo from Nick Saban, which I thought was really interesting in episode 1. He was there visiting with Eberflus and working a little bit with the team, visiting with the team. Curious about that. Curious about if Tom Brady will make an appearance. Apparently, he's doing some mentorship with Caleb Williams, and the number 1 overall pick is now on the TB12 diet. So curious to see if Tom Brady shows up. But episode 2 of Hard Knocks is going to air tonight on HBO. So check your local listings and check the schedule online to find out when it's going to air. I believe I'm going to watch it, I think, at 8 o'clock Eastern. So Hard Knocks, episode 2 tonight. We'll come back here and talk about it. Tomorrow on the program, we are going to have Stephen Ellis from Daily Faceoff will join us tomorrow. We'll dive deeper into this offer sheet situation and some of the offseason moves in the NHL. Farhan Lalji, potentially from TSN, and Emery Hunt from CBS, partner of the CFL. He's talking football on CBS, so we'll have Emery Hunt on the show tomorrow as well. Big thanks to Steve Hildebrand. Game 3 in the WCBL tonight. And thanks to you for watching. We'll see you tomorrow on the RP Show.
Who has more fun than us?
How about that?